So I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I went to elementary school in the 1950s, at which time math was a very serious undertaking, and there was only one way to do it, and that was memorize. So I don't know if you can read this, but this is how I learned to add fractions. In 5th grade, 9 years old. If what the bottom number goes into the other, find out how many times and multiply both the top, and I'm not going to read both, except for the very last one. Don't know why. But I always did. I always did, because I, 8 steps, and you're going to forget one of them. And it wasn't until I was an adult and in college, or actually probably in teacher training, that I finally understood fractions, and it was just an epiphany. Wonderful. So I didn't do too well in school. Which one's me? Oh. And I dropped math as soon as I could. That would be 11th grade. Majored in German. And on my junior year in college, went to Germany on an exchange program. Ended up staying there. I lived in Berlin for 15 years. Went to university there. My kids were born there, and yeah, there's back. They'll figure it out. And I changed my major, and I discovered that I loved economics. In fact, I still do. It's still one of my greatest hobbies and my greatest joys. And I switched my major, began studying economics, and found out promptly that there was a calculus requirement. And I went back and had to do Algebra 2, trig, precalculus, calculus in night school. Had some good teachers, and discovered for the first time, there's my university, the Technical University of Berlin, discovered for the first time that I liked math. That's me. Wouldn't know it, but it is 10 years ago. After my children were born, I decided to go into teaching, and taught math at the K through 12 school in Berlin, which is called the John F. Kennedy School. It's a bilingual school, built right after Kennedy's Ich bin ein Berliner speech, and teaches on the German curriculum, but in both languages. So I taught math. In 1995, my family and I, the kids came back to California, and I'd been here in July of 95 about 48 hours when I saw I was still on jet lag, when I saw an ad for Key School hiring a math teacher in the paper, and got hired the same day. So I've been here a long time, and I love this school, and the wonderful thing about it is that they give you quite a bit of curricular freedom. Being a small private school, the administration says, best practices. Whatever you think works best, that's what I want you to do. Which is wonderful, except that you have choices. You have to make wise decisions. And my first choice was the standard, traditional American textbook, the spiral, Saxon, which I didn't like. I couldn't take it. It was, you've heard this before, mile wide and an inch deep. Too many units, too fast. Kids get bored, or they fall behind. They hate it the next time they see it, and it's memory heavy. It's algorithm heavy. You don't understand what you're doing half the time. The most linear thinking kids, the top 1/3 math students, they can. The people who are your poets and your artists and your English majors, they get lost. And some of the teachers do too. She's checking that one on her calculator. This is a very interesting research paper that came out about 3 years ago. American Institute for Research, AIR. You can Google it on the web if you're interested. It agreed that American students only learn to mechanically apply mathematical procedures to solve routine problems, and are not, therefore, mathematically competitive. So I had to drop that. I decided I'm not going to go with a standard American textbook. Oops. We had choice too. At that moment in Key School, they were using MathLand. which is wonderful because there are tons of manipulatives. It's very concrete. There are investigations. You raise a whole generation of kids who just love math but can't do any because there's no transfer to the abstract. It's all concrete. You understand how to add fractions of pizzas, but you would never be able to add rational expressions in algebra on the same clues. This is really their motto. As a co-learner. Well, I actually doctored up this cartoon a little bit. That's U.S. Math there, sitting with an egg on his face. About a month ago, this came out. The presidential panel, this was a very big research project that came out recently, and said that American students lack the know-how to become engineers and scientists. They lack deeper understanding of what they're learning. Most of them are befuddled by fractions. I like that word. And 84% of middle school students would rather clean their room or take out the garbage than do math homework. So part of the whole bigger problem. So what did I do? I didn't do choice 1. I didn't do choice 2. I went back to my German experience, long units, start with the concrete, transfer it to the abstract, practices and review and games, except I had to translate everything from German. I was a one-Roman worksheet factory. Until about 5 years ago, a parent in our school, a woman from India, brought in the Singapore math books and asked me to look through them. And I made 2 mistakes coming here first. I'd always known that Singapore tested first in the TIMSS testing. You've probably all heard that. And my first mistake was that I assumed it was cultural, that they have a homogeneous society, or they go to school 10 hours a day, or they beat them, or whatever, that we wouldn't be able to apply that here in the United States. But if you look at the historical testing scores of Singapore, they weren't first place before they adopted this one that they are currently using, and moved from 17th place to first place. There are, from what I've heard, and I haven't ever seen this for sure, and Corinne might know, I believe it's loosely based, or at least it had its origins in the math instruction from Russia in the Soviet era. There's Singapore up at the top in 4th grade, 2003, and 8th grade, 2003, but then you know all that. This is the American interpretation of this graph. We have many friends among tall countries and short countries alike. There's the U.S. right there.